Hello and welcome to my Q2 2024 solar update. And this is the first positive one. And it just so happens that it also aligns with my 1 year anniversary of my payment to Ameren, Illinois for my connection. So it's going to be a Q2 overview and all of the different costs, all the different conversation around me going from my small off-grid system to a on-grid Ameren, Illinois and Illinois Shine update. So, first big milestone is I did get my federal incentive. I had to validate my taxes, did some extra steps before I got my rebate. Fortunately for the Illinois Shine program, absolutely no update on that. So, still not providing any updates of my production. I've not heard from them at all. And the only thing I've heard from my installers that it could take a while. So there we are for that, I guess. So going back, that is over a year since I paid Illinois about $1,000 to be on the program. So think about that. I'm not calling it a Ponzi scheme. I'm just saying they've had like $1,000 of mine for over a year. So just to put that in perspective. So positive piece. I am positive over all of Q2. So April, I was positive about $28, May 27, June 98. So all of those things are good. Just a quick reminder that Q1 was all negative. And when I say negative, I'm still referring to my break-even point. So after the federal, and the reason I'm putting it in there now is because I wanted to do an update after the incentive, which I think is part of the 1 year update. I still owe about $20,500 on my solar system if I would have borrowed all the money for it. If I look at the overall year of what it would cost to borrow that money, and at the time I'm recording this, it's 7.25% is what I can get money from a home equity type loan. I am looking at still being about negative $300 on a system that my solar installer said would pay for itself in 2.8 years. So what is the discrepancy there? I mean, it really all comes down to holding costs. And to put it in perspective, I did a quick look on the internet, and over the last year, if I would have put the money in the S&P 500 as opposed to using it to install my solar, I would have made approximately 15.9% return on my money. So you have to think about carrying costs. Do not let a solar installer tell you things got paid for itself in like 3 years, because that's a bunch of malarkey. Because if you had that money sitting around, you could do something with that money. So the opportunity cost, granted, the S&P 500 is probably not really a good alternative. It's not a guarantee like a solar. The production is there and it offsets your bill. I mean, that's a guarantee, as opposed to S&P 500 is it swings. It's not guaranteed. So anyway, bottom line, would I do the system again? The reason I haven't talked about my DIY system is because I wanted to do the 1 year as kind of the professional version. And I would say, if you didn't get the tax break, and in my area, there are more customers than there are solar installers, which means that their prices are pretty high. I would say, I don't know if it's worth it. I really struggle. And the only reason I think it is worth it to me is the DIY side that I was able to tack on. A few things to think about. When I was off grid with that little mini system, its break even wasn't great either. So I'm not going to pretend like I had it much better before I went on grid, but I did have over a day that I lost power. And with all this on grid stuff, the way we have it set up, it doesn't produce. So I was without power, solar sitting there not producing because since the grid's not there, can't backfeed the grid. So it did nothing. So that was like almost 2 days of sun. Now, granted, it was stormy weather and whatnot, so it wouldn't have produced great anyway. But it kind of gets me back into the, before that small off-grid system would have ran even though the grid was gone. So little things to think about. So again, just to kind of put it all in there, I'm glad I did it. I learned a lot. I'm still hoping now that the majority of the costs are there, that the system will pay for itself. It's probably going to be more like 6, 7 years, not the 3 or the 2.8 that I was quoting in the marketing material. So I kind of led to this before, but going to my DIY system, that is much higher return on investment if you look at it. And now, granted, some of that is because I did the work myself, right? But when you think about it from that standpoint, on my DIY system, still broke even Q1, where my major system lost money. So in the grand scheme of things, after it's all said and done for this Q2 piece, I really only have about $5,000 to $6,000 in that system. So it will break even much faster than the other system. So I don't know if this helps you. I have a lot to think about as I move into next steps. Do I approve the system? That kind of stuff. So the things I'm asking myself now is, on my little DIY stuff, I'm still going to add a few panels here and there, kind of take the savings from the system and then put it over adding a little more, because I have a lot of inverter space on that system to where I can add more solar. And then just for watt perspective, the professional one is double the size of my DIY sides. So that said, I do want to address the whole storm knockout thing. That's going to go back to the critical loads panel that I had to turn off in order to go on this whole Illinois Shine program, because they wanted me to take down the solar panels that I was using for my critical load system. So right now my critical load panel is running on a grid, so I get no benefit of solar production when the grid goes down. So I do want to address that, and I don't know how much time we'll have to do that. So believe it or not, in the future, I will have 3 systems: the professional one, my small DIY on the studio apartment, and then a critical loads piece. So more to come on that, because I did order a PG4 6000 XP, and that's hopefully going to come soon. And that will be what I do feed my critical loads panel. And then I'm going to have to figure out creative way to get a small array for that, because the addition for my house is going smooth, because not only are solar installers in demand, pretty much all construction people are in demand right now, at least where I'm at. So I hope maybe that gave you a little of insight, or at least something to think about if you're looking at a solar project. It's always good to have the facts and data. And so I'm just sharing my journey. And so if you'd like to hear more and where I turn next, or when this system will ever break even, feel free to subscribe. And I'm not doing monthly updates anymore. I'm definitely doing the quarterly. And now that it's making money, it's not very exciting. Just the monthly updates. So stay tuned, and more to come. And I do like Piddle, so I'll probably put a little more of the system upgrade pieces on the channel.